Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. And gosh, I'm excited about today's interview. It's something that's been in the works for about, I don't know, 6 months. It seems like, and we just keep missing each other. But I've got Cal here with me today. And I'll tell you what, I just want to introduce you guys to Cal and Tristan. And I'll tell you what, Tristan, take it away. Tell us what you are and what you do.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Shannon. Yeah, it has been a little bit of a time tracking you down, between the farm season and business and, shed expos. It's been a crazy season around our place too. And so, my name is Tristan Klesick, and we started a company called Customer Aligned Logistics in 2020. And Cal is our product, and we use this product, with nonprofits, with the food space, malt industry, and the shed industry. And basically, we're a fulfillment software. We really understand logistics. We've been in the business for 25 years. We're new to sheds, but we're not new to logistics. And really, every business has to get a client, has to sign the bottom line, produce the product, and get it delivered. And so those basic building blocks are in place. And we found our niche in that middle portion where you have to produce the product, right? And that's this kind of this it's this mystery box. Getting a customer, that's easy. Getting it delivered is easy. Those are check boxes. But what happens in the middle there? Dust up, a bunch of cloud, swear words, fist popping out, and all of a sudden out comes the shit. How'd that happen? And so we
Uh-huh.
found a way to make that system more transparent, more intuitive, and easy to use. And then, the partners you set up with are really important as well because, configurators are important. You don't have to have a configurator, but a configurator can help you make a more qualified lead. And then, also delivering that is important. And so in the middle there, streamlining spreadsheets and notepads and not writing the name 4 and 5 times, before it gets out the door, those are opportunities to streamline and not make mistakes. And even handwriting, oh my goodness, I have the worst handwriting in the world. If I didn't have a computer, you couldn't read my notes to save your life. And so I needed just a system like my own, just so I could get legible notes to my team, and let alone trying to have my team decipher what I wrote to, get the customer right. So anyway, we're in this business right now to serve business owners with affordable tools that help them move their sheds or carports through the system. And we're excited about that.
Man, that's great. So how did you just end up in the shed space? One thing, excuse me. One thing I always say is nobody sitting with their guidance counselor and saying, yeah, you know what, I want to be in the shed industry, or I want to sell sheds or build sheds or haul sheds. Not typically. Now, I do love these young guys that are out here say, hey, I want to be a trucker. When you go to these hauler events, boy, they love their daddy and what they do, and that's
Yeah.
cool. But most of the time, that's not your story. So how'd you kind of come to know the shed industry in general?
Yeah. Well, how do we start with this, right? We've been writing our own software. We have an organic farm. We've been doing organic home delivery of fruits and vegetables for 25 years to the Seattle marketplace. And so, we build boxes of produce and deliver them. And so we have all the components from mapping to fulfillment to ordering to customers. It's all happening. And so during the pandemic, we had, built our system for the third time. This is when Cal really got its genesis, back in 2008 and then 2012. And then 2015, we rebuilt it again. And we were doing about 700 deliveries a week, Shannon, 700 deliveries a week, to homes.
Wow.
They would log in, they would place their order, it would recur, weekly, every other week, and they would map them and charge them. And we wouldn't talk to hardly any of them at all. We went from having like three people in the office to one person in the office. And that happened mostly because the customer stopped calling. They stopped, they wanted to chat, they wanted to text, they wanted to do it
Hmm.
themselves online. And so the old way of doing business was getting less and less needed. And so we needed to create a system that would allow us to communicate with customers on their terms and how they wanted to communicate, right? And so then you're bumping along, you've got a system that's super efficient, and then the pandemic happens. And imagine that we're in the shed space, we're in the food space doing home delivery. We're already online. We've been doing this for 20 years. And so we blow up. We go from 700 deliveries to 2,200 in 3 weeks. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
what just happened, right? Everybody else is staying home. They just saw pictures from China. They all think they're going to die or something. And in the shed space is a similar experience, right? People had some extra cash. They started, to to buy more sheds. And so when we saw that our system could scale 3-4 times our size in 3 weeks, I said to myself, I've got to make this more available to other small business owners, because it takes time to build a system. It takes energy to build a system. And sometimes when somebody says, like we had quotes, people come to say, oh, we'll give you a home delivery software and it'd be like $4,000 a month. I'm like, for $4,000 a month, I'll build my own system. Right. That's like real money at that point in my
Right.
world. I'm like, and so that's what we did. We built our own systems. Right. And so now, as business owners, fees, costs, those things matter. Right. And was that person offering $4,000? Absolutely. Because we have less team members, because we can use, a system like that. And the ROI is almost immediate when you start to think about how much more you can do with your team, because the technology now serves you versus chasing paper or spreadsheets. And we were spreadsheet heavy for a season there. And was it A week or B week? And heaven help us if someone went on vacation that ran the spreadsheets. Oh my word, Shannon, we would be lost for 2 weeks, or if we had to make a change midstream. Did somebody change the formula? Where did this?
Yeah, right.
So today, we don't have a single spreadsheet in any of our businesses. We might make a spreadsheet to do some analysis, but all the reports you would normally run in a spreadsheet are automated. The system is full of the information. We just pull it out. But anyway, so back to our conversation. When we saw that we could scale 3-4 times our size, and we didn't hire a single office person to triple our business. Now, going from 1 shed to 3 sheds, that's paper. But going from 30 to 90, 100 to 300, imagine that kind of growth in like 3 weeks. That's the kind of stuff where a system begins to serve you. And if you plan to grow, you've got to have systems that will help you grow. Otherwise, you're going to pull your hair out. And we could have never grown 3 times our size in 3 weeks under the old system, because we didn't have enough people in the office to answer phones and move paper and keep track of orders. But sure, we could buy more vans, hire more packers, hire more, delivery drivers. But office help, we could never have trained them in 3 weeks to get up to steam how to do the system. And so we were served by making an investment in software a couple of years before. And then since then, we've just been fine tuning it. Now, how we get into your space, Shannon, into the shed space, I was doing entree leadership with a couple people, and one of them was a shed dealer down in Tampa, Florida.
Man,
and he was still using
I'm
paper.
looking.
Are you a shed manufacturer, dealer, or hauler looking for a trusted resource to build or upgrade your website? Do you need a simple business website or a more robust and dynamic e-commerce site? Are you looking for an affordable option with digital marketing solutions for your small business? Are you looking for paid ads using Google search engines or social media platforms to reach a new audience? If you answered yes to any of these questions, it's time to check out Troyer Websites of Texas. Did you know that 46% of the 5.6 billion searches made each day are for local businesses? At Troyer's, our SEO strategies will help you get on the first page of search results for your shed business. At Troyer Websites of Texas, you will be sure to get 5-star customer service with proficiency and skill. Troyer Websites just launched their managed digital services to incorporate all your marketing needs into a single dashboard. Here at the Shed Geek Podcast, we trusted the team at Troyer Websites of Texas to develop our website, and we couldn't be happier with the results. To know more or schedule a discovery call, simply contact the Shed Geek at 618-309-3648 or email info@shedgeek.com.
I'm looking at the entree leadership in Nashville next year. I've literally had a call with someone. I'm trying to justify. So I'm going to pick your brain either on air or off about your experience there. So keep going there. I'm going to write that down. I've got to come back to that.
Yeah, Entree Leadership was a great program. The masterminds, they put us together with other business owners. We worked on our businesses. And one of them happened to be, a shed dealer. And when I started this process, I was just keeping in touch because we became friends over the last, 5-6 years. And he started thinking, can you help me? Because, he got the business from Grandpa, and Grandpa was still using invoices. Literally, the person who had the nicest handwriting would go on top of the file cabinet and fill out 50 more numbers, put the new sales sheet on top there, and then they'd pull them from there. And then, they use file cabinets and DocuSign and Dropbox. And it was just really hard, to scale that business when you have so many, movie pieces and so file cabinet heavy. And so then we started to, build that system for him, because Cal was really built for home delivery companies that were doing fruits and vegetables, not shed delivery, right? And so 2 years ago, we'd go to the Shed Expo in Michigan there, and we meet some great people and start to build it. And we have this kind of clunky, shoehorned, Shed instance of home delivery software that works for now Sheds. And it worked. And it was better than, what people were using in some ways, but it wasn't quite right. And in our business, we'll do things to get it going, but then we are motivated to make it better. Like, getting it started is half the battle, right? You got to like put oar on the water, but once you get there, you got to go somewhere. And so today I can tell you that Cal is so beautifully integrated, thinks like a shed company, offers shed tools, helps you do your job. But we had to get in that space. We had to meet some people using the product, and then we had to kind of mine them and then, produce a product that has some good usable tools, but it also had to be affordable, right? Because remember, I was getting like $4,000 in 2012 to run my software for my own home delivery company. Like, I'll just pay for somebody to do that, right? And of course, developers cost way more than $4,000 a month. That's not in the game. But, we built our own systems, and then we were able to maintain for $100 a month, right? But we had to make the big investments. And so we laid a foundation, we built a foundation. And so now we can offer, truly, from a configurator to delivery, in a real affordable solution. And we do it, uniquely, Shannon. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but, we price based on units sold. Because fees do matter. During that pandemic, what did Visa do to grow my business 300%?
Yeah.
And they took 3% of all of it, right? And I mean, sure, take 3% on the first million, but give me a break on the second or third or fourth, right? Like, you're not adding value at that point. You didn't do anything. I can only imagine a shed manufacturer who had a 36 or 40%, material surcharge, and Visa got that percentage as well. What did Visa do to add value for that? And so we started thinking about it, and Kyle Summers at JMeg, he's like, Tristan, if you could just figure out how to price on units, it would make more sense. I thought about that. And I said, that is what I've been missing. I don't get it, but now I get it, right? And so basically, if you sell a shed, then we count that as a unit. If you sell an anchor, we don't count that as a unit. I mean, it's a building, it's a carport or a gazebo or a shed, that's a unit. Anything like a ramp, that doesn't count. That's a part of selling the shed in our mind. And so that helped us that really liberated our thinking. And because also we're fee sensitive as business owners, right? We get that things cost money. We want people to be profitable. Nobody in my supply chain ever believes. Like, if they're not making money downriver, upriver from me, then something's not right. Now, nobody needs to get fat and happy, right? But they do need to make a profit, because if they're not in business, then I can't be in business. So everybody has to make a profit, but we're not here for businesses to serve us. We're here to serve businesses.
Yeah. I love that.
And so for us, it's been in this journey of trying to figure out how to serve the shed industry, because we're new to the space. We're not new to logistics, but we're new to the space. And then we started to fine tune our processes, because we've been doing home delivery for a long time. We understand frictionless sales. We understand delivery. We understand, taking care of customers. And those are the same concerns that the shed industry has, the carport industry has. And so now today, we really have a 5-minute sales process. E-commerce is so important. We should talk about that at some point as well. The unassisted sale, the assisted sale, what does that really mean, right?
What was your response internally as you begin to process? I always say the shed industry is very fragmented. You will not find consistency from one shed company to the next.
Amen.
So
Amen.
the fragmentation of that, there's a lot of programs that say, this is my program, follow my program, do it my way. Do you think that that's more the way to go, or do you think the way to go is, hey, I'm going to meet the customer where they are and build a program around who and what they are? Would you consider that to be, the ultimate form of customer service? I'm asking you a lot of questions, and I'm very guilty of doing this. I'll slow down and let you answer one at a time, but maybe my overarching thought and comment here is, when you found the shed space, what were your internal thoughts about the fragmentation of the industry?
I thought, what did I just get myself into?
Sure.
I said, who are these people? The shed space is filled with so many amazing people. I mean, it's got a heavy Christian element to it. There's the plain communities, there's the non-plain communities, there's business owners that have moved in and just set up shop, right? And then you've got, dealers that are just dealers who take a commission. Then you've got wholesale buyers who buy from manufacturers who then resell the building. And then you've got, carports and manufacturers. And you have people who do manufacture and buy. And like this industry is all over the map. And so
Yeah.
after that last year of trying to figure this out, we probably have a solution for about 90% of the models out there.
Are you looking for a software system to help run your entire business? Then you need to check out the Dealer Management System, brought to you by RTO National. The DMS has a point of sale center where you can complete cash, credit card, lease, or finance sales all in one place, and an inventory module where you can manage your inventory and even push it to your website. One of the coolest features is the Transportation Center. You can schedule, edit, and finalize all transportations with a calendar and a map view, and have driver-specific views with note communications, and an electronic delivery sheet with photo upload. Having all of this data in one place allows the DMS to populate data charts, consolidate reporting, and help you easily track sales trends to make faster and better decisions. The best part is that you can review and finalize in-process deals for payment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Call 833-588-1802 or click the QR code to schedule a demo today.
If you're a manufacturer, we've got a solution. We have different tools for you. And if you're a dealer, we've got a solution for you with different tools as well. But all of them have to do the same thing, right? They got to get an order, they got to produce an order, and they got to deliver an order. All that stuff has to happen. And so I think that we have sort of found a way to serve, not with the same tool, but kind of the same toolbox with a few different tools added to it, because maybe, this is more the mechanic over here and this is more the carpenter, but they still need a few of the same tools. And so, yeah, we didn't pigeonhole anybody. We listened, and then we produced a really solid foundation of common tools. And then we have the ones that they need for their specific industry. Even the rent to own space is really unique, right? I mean, there are people who do rent to own as a company, people who buy contracts or rent to own. And then also there's people who do their own rent to own, and so the concept of rent to own is out there, but how it's deployed is out there, right? And then there's also financing and cash outs, buy outright sales or cash sales, and so all that has to happen in the system, and you have to account for all those things. So in this space here, I have met some of the most wonderful people. Some of the people that I think it's ironic to say this, but some of the most tech savvy people I know, I've met that they're Amish or Mennonite, but they don't have technology.
Oh, for sure.
But they are super tech savvy. They totally get it, and so I'm really excited about working with those communities too, because, they see the need, they have some limitations, but they understand how technology can serve them. And so we're working on that right now with like a third party kind of management system where they could get a CAL system and a configurator and have, an outside party sort of manage and feed them the information they need to run their businesses, because the web-based business model is here to stay. And those communities are going to need access to those tools in ways that work for them. And so we're really excited about figuring that one out.
I love that you said that. I worked very blue collar early on in life, and just didn't really embrace technology and computers. I don't think I got my first computer till I was it was into my 30s before I did. Now my wife would use.
Now, did they have computers back then? I mean, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I don't. Let me think. Let's see. That would have been about 1900, and no, I remember having the first generation Apple computer in our home as a child.
Okay.
And we had no idea what we were doing with it. I mean, I look back now and I watch like the Steve Jobs movies, and I'm so inspired by like what that guy just created. I mean, it's really amazing his tenacity to not stop in the face of resistance constantly. And it's actually I gravitate toward Apple. Most everything. The operating system is just more user friendly for me. It seems to make a lot of sense to me. Their philosophy makes a lot of sense. But yeah, you said something that struck me. some of the folks that venture into the technology realm that are come from the plane community, um, it's there's this misnomer that they don't understand technology. I have met guys that adapt to the technology way faster than I adapt to it. Their learning curve is way smaller than mine, even though they haven't grown up around that technology. And I think that just, maybe that's their education process. I mean, gosh, there's a lot to be said for German education, is there not? I mean, even the word kindergarten came from what, German education. Just look at the engineering, the mule, look at the Joey lift, look at the the vehicles that come out of Germany. I mean, there's something to be said about that mind in engineering. But I'm just blown away by like the way they adapt it so quickly when culture does allow for them to use the technology. I feel inferior in some ways in that I'm like, gosh, you picked this up in 2 months. It took me 20 years like to develop this. It's here to stay though. How do we address that? And that maybe that can segue into the e-commerce conversation, but how do you live in a world where culture clashes with technology, and yet this technology, from mine and your opinion, would be you either have to adapt it in some way or you have to, a lot of times people will say, well, I've got someone who works with me that they can take on that responsibility because our culture says and our church says we won't do that. What do you do to address that? It's such a unique perspective because you might not find that outside of the plane community and this particular niche of the industry.
Yeah, the unique thing about technology is, when you grow up with technology, so much has been changing for you, but the tools have gotten easier. So if you and I were to drop in today, we wouldn't have to write code. We could just kind of assemble things because somebody already wrote the code for it. But 20 years ago, we'd have to figure out how to write, ones and zeros and do all that stuff. But today, so some ways it's easier to use technology today because somebody's already laid such a big foundation, to do it. And so with the plane communities, or really anybody who's really trying to move towards that, get away from file cabinets and Excel spreadsheets and pen and paper and notes and sticky notes and all that stuff, the tools today are much, much easier to use. Now the question is, how much do you embrace it? What do you really need? If you need to get down the road, any truck will do that for you. Now, if you need to haul, a shed, then you have to look at a different kind of truck, right? And so you have to embrace the technology needs that you have as a business owner and where you are. For us, we want simple tools. We want easy to use systems. In our system, everybody's cross-trained around here. So if somebody gets sick, they can step in. If somebody's going on a route, they can use the mapping tool. Our whole team is embraced in the CAL system because one, it was easy to pick up, and two, we can use our team more efficiently. Because we don't end up in those silos as much. Because we can, expand their abilities, and then also it offers more enjoyable work. And then we end up uncovering or discovering somebody's talents because they're doing more than what, build a shed or sell a shed or talk to a customer or market something, right? Because they can play in the system and then you can cross-train, you can have a more nimble team. And if we need anything today, with the labor crunches we're facing right now and inflation, we need our teams to be nimble. We need them to be able to run 12 years ago, we'd have 15 employees running around this farm here and producing boxes. And we had like 7 this year, and we're doing more business. That's partly because of software, but partly because we can't find help. And Shannon, I know I told you we have 9 children, right? And the first 6, they're married and out of the house, and the 3 are still at home. And those first 6, we were building a business. We had 50 customers back in 1998, and today we're doing, 1,200 or 1,500. And those first kids, they worked with us on the farm. They were up packing boxes, loading vans. We'd throw them in the van, go make deliveries. And so, they look down on their younger siblings. Like, well, you didn't have to work when you were like we had to work. Well, you know what? Those younger ones have now started working again because we just can't find the help, so now they're like, oh no, I work in the business too.
Yeah. That's so interesting. What a great analogy. My mom was one of 9 children, the only girl, and she had pretty much all older brothers. She was next to the youngest, so she would identify with those stories. How old is your oldest, Tristan?
He's 31.
Gosh,
Yeah, my
and you
youngest is
talk about
12.
and and you talk about my age. What are you doing to me?
ShedHub.com is the shed industry's very first two-sided marketplace that allows you, the shed seller, to list your inventory on a site specifically designed for selling sheds. ShedHub establishes more qualified sales leads and helps your customers find you with a simple online search. Shoppers searching where to buy sheds and sheds near me have grown by 200% in the last 2 years. This means even if the buyer wants to visit a sales lot to purchase a shed, their shed buying journey started with a simple Google search. They can actually check out and purchase the shed straight from ShedHub if they prefer to shop online. ShedHub does not charge any commission for sheds you sell. We simply charge the monthly subscription. Your sales commission is still yours to keep. Sheds listed on ShedHub will have first page search results in 91% of cities, or where to buy sheds is searched. For special pricing only available through Shed Geek, simply go to geek.shedhub.com to see the promo codes that allow you to save as much as 50% off the first 12 months of your subscription, and over 75% for companies with multiple sales locations. Sell more sheds using shedhub.com.
I'm still young at
No,
heart.
I love it, man. And I love big. That's right. Amen. I heard that. I love big families, man. I think if there's a major regret for me and my wife in life is we would have had a whole van full of kids ourselves, and we stopped it too. And we thought that was the right thing to do economically because we were both struggling financially. And if there was a change I would make is, gosh, they've been such a blessing to us. Gosh, what a unique perspective to take on starting in the business that you did with food, and finding yourself into the shed space. Man, I've heard such good things about, anybody who's worked with you, and I think that's great, man. I think where does integration exist in this industry? One thing that you want to do is we compete, right? So people constantly compete at working in this space, but then you said yourself there's a Christian element to this industry that's beautiful. And that beauty is, hey, we want to see you do well, but does that mean that you doing well means me not doing good? I always use the Tyler Mahan said, a rising tide lifts all boats, and I love to use that. My analogy would be, if there's two candles in a room and you blow one out, both of you have less light to see at this point. So it's really not about blowing out the candle. It's how do you both succeed? So for me, it's been trying to make a more organized, better integrated industry. But what's your feelings on how you integrate, but then also compete inside of this industry? And how can we as competitors show that we are trying to lead the industry down that road? I don't know, just your thoughts on that. I'm curious.
Competition's healthy, right? You don't have to ever cast disparaging comments about your competition. We all bring something new to the marketplace. People think different than I think. They think different than you think. And then there are customers who think like them and customers who think like me, and so the marketplace really can, have a lot of competitors in it, doing a lot of different things. And then people have different pricing structures and different ways of, doing business. And so for me, I mostly want to, find, my tribe, find the people that I can serve who get what I do, and I will chase away business too if I'm not the right fit, because in the end, you have choices, and if we're not the right choice, then we want you to freely pursue that because it's your business. Right. We're not here to serve us. We're here to serve you. And if we can't serve you, then it doesn't make sense. Right. But there's no system out there, Cal included, that does everything great. Right. It's just not possible. And even in your own businesses, if people are thinking about their own businesses, they know they excel at building, but they suck at selling, or, they don't sell as well, or, they don't market well, but they really take care of the customers, and so like all of us have these strengths we bring to our business. And so finding partners who align with those strengths or weaknesses to make us better, to help us do our job better. And then also for me as a business owner, like I never want to move in I always wanted to serve you, but really I want to serve you so you can do more. Like I want you
Mm-hmm.
to be more involved in your community, more involved in your passions, because every small business owner I know is also, serving in their community. They're coaching, they're involved in local politics, they're at the school board, they're doing something else besides just or they're being hit up for donations, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and so if you have a good tool that relieves you of some of the automatable tasks, is that a word, automatable? Some of the tasks that you can automate,
We
right?
make words here, so it's okay.
So if you can be relieved of some of those tasks that are replicated over and over and over, then you'll have more time to pursue the other passions that you have as a business owner, the other community responsibilities. And if I can unlock that for a business owner, I've made this world better. I've
Yeah.
made their community better, right? And I've served that business owner. And so for me, that's almost more important than anything else I do, is serving them so that they can do what they're called to do. And that's incredible joy.
Hello, Shed Builder. This is the Shed Geek, here to tell you about one of the coolest things I've seen, the first of its kind, the Joey Pivot Lift. I have visited hundreds of shed manufacturing shops across the country, and one of the first things shop owners and shed builders mention is the amount of fatigue that is placed on the everyday builder. If you own a shed shop, you know that your builder is an asset to your future. With the Joey Lift, you'll see more production, and your builder will appreciate you investing in their well-being by replacing the thousands of steps they have to take up and down a ladder all day. The Joey Lift is perfect for shed builders, roofers, painters, and laborers working to add that special layer of detail on your shed. It's so easy, even a geek can drive it.
I love it, man. I definitely want to segue into that part of you as a person, but let's address the e-commerce
Okay.
reality inside this industry. It looks so different to so many different people. From
Mm-hmm.
still, one of the reasons I partnered with and promote people on the show, or people advertise on the show through marketing and web services, web development, is that's still a very new thing in some spaces. So you run the gambit from, do I need a website, to people who really, really optimize their website.
Right.
What do you see for the people who fit inside of those parameters?
Mm-hmm.
What do you see as the best advice to give them, and what e-commerce looks like from your perspective for the shed industry specifically?
Yeah. People today, they're buying cars online now. They buy cruises online. They buy refrigerators online. They just want to do as much as they can online. I don't know if they don't want to talk to them. I can barely get my kids to call their grandparents, right? Like, I mean, I mean, they want to text them maybe, or
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so the consumer wants to do some of this themselves. And so we talk about the unassisted sale or the assisted sale. Um, Really, if the consumer is willing to go online and fill out an RTO contract or a cash sale contract and then drop it into the CAL system or whatever system you're using, you should just let them do it, because you're going to talk to them anyway. You still have to schedule delivery. You're going to see things that they didn't see. You're going to help them make the purchase better. But if they want to do the heavy lifting of creating all of the information, addresses, phone numbers, renter information, and do that for you, let them do it. And so for us, we like e-commerce because it actually allows the customers who won't come inside the lot to actually buy from you still. And so if you're a national brand and you can sell everywhere, then that's easy. And if you're a local brand and you deliver, we just draw a really nice map on our system and people know exactly where you deliver. And then they can make the decision whether you're right for them or not, because they type their address in and it says, oh, hey, you're in, and then,
yeah,
they go through that
yeah.
process. And even what's really nice is we're so integrated. We are integrated with the idea room in particular with the configurator at this point, but we'll integrate with the Shed, Shed Pro or 3D Structure app or 3D Fish. We're not like, we don't have a financial relationship with Idea Room. We just had a client who wanted us to integrate with them, and so we did. But if you use Cal, you will never know where we start and where they start. Like, it is such a seamless integration, because initially we just hook it up, but then after we hook it up, we say, well, how about grabbing it here and here and here? And now, with Idea Room, you can make a virtual store. All your popular designs can go on a website and they're ready to build. and then the customer can grab those. It makes a copy of those. It never goes off inventory because it's just a virtual building, right? And then they can redesign that building, walk it through the system, and then purchase it. And then you get an order to build a building. Or if you have inventory, we get real photographs. That whole system works too. They can take that one, and when they buy it, it comes off the website immediately because it's no longer there, right, to be purchased, because you only have one shed you're selling, right? You only stand in the river once, and then it just keeps going by you. That shed's gone, it's gone. And so we figured out how to move those things around. But in e-commerce, let the customer pick, and then you can do those ready to build order designs with a configurator. It's amazing how you can kind of wet the whistle of the customer, and then they can continue down, and then you get a better qualified lead, because they're building the building they want. And with the configurators, most of the time, the customer only can build what they can build, right? They can't build something like a skyscraper, for Manhattan, because the configurators limit their ability to build only a shed that fits on a trailer and goes down the road, so.
Yeah.
So I think e-commerce is here to stay.
I mean, for sure. I mean, it affects us outside of the industry. So it's a matter of figuring out how to embrace it, or how to deal with it, if you work inside the industry. I mean, the emergence of programs like Shed Hub and Sheds for Sale. I mean, what a platform. If I were selling, I mean, gosh, I would have loved having platforms like that available. I don't sell regularly. I'll get a call every now and then from someone who still knows, or my wife works with someone and says, your husband's that shed guy thing, right? He sells sheds, and I usually just end up giving those leads away most of the time. But
Sure. It's interesting. The Sheds for Sale, Shed Hub. We're going to be integrating with the Sheds for Sale in December, and so with that integration, when a product's created inside of Cal or the Idea Room or whatever configurator that we're connected with at that moment, it will automatically populate to Sheds for Sale. And when that item gets sold, it will automatically be pulled back. And so one of the challenges with multiple sites, Facebook Marketplace, Shed Hub, Shed for Sale, Google, is you got to manage all those things, right? And so then you just forget where you have inventory, and all of a sudden you got a bunch of buildings over here that have been long gone, but you don't have the time to go back and integrate it. So our goal would be to, when it's created, it shows up, and when it's sold, it goes away, because it's one less thing, and technology can do that. Why not use technology to inform where you can sell stuff, and then also inform it when it's gone, and remove it from the sale as well.
Somebody recently said, I mean, there's always, to any new idea, especially of technology, there's always this fear of maybe intrusiveness or nefarious, like intentions or whatever. Oh no, I gave away a position. I remember stories about people talking about the Cardinal Mule when it first come out. Folks that said, "Oh, I'll never use it. I don't have to have it. I'm doing just fine without it." And then it becomes so valuable. You know what I mean? That you see, no one ever goes back and says, for the most part, hey, I was wrong. I maybe misjudged that early on. Our industry is conservative and conservative minded. I won't say tend to be skeptical, but I think the more accurate thing is they tend to be well thought. You know what I mean? And they are very intelligent people that fall into that conservative field because they want to make sure that they're conserving. I heard Candace Owens say, the natural progression of humanity is not progressive. It's actually conservative. If you really think about it, I mean, think about I'm gonna get in trouble here, aren't I? I'm getting too political heavy, but there's a saying that says if you're not a liberal until you're 30, then you don't have a heart. But if you're not conservative after 30, you don't have a brain, right? So it's the natural progression. It's fine to be free spirited and want to see change and see these new things and cool things. But then a lot of times you find out that you go back and you hear your father's advice and you go, doggone, he was right, on a lot of stuff, right? My parents were really right. They saw it from a different perspective, and it was one called experience in life that I didn't have yet. So I saw it from my limited perspective. I'm saying all that to say, those programs require the industry, in my opinion, to embrace them. I've sold both products, and the one thing I tell people, whatever they ask me, is I'm like, listen, this works when you work it. whenever you
Right.
don't embrace these things, it's half of the battle is the heart.
Mhm.
You got to say, I mean, they're building programs, and trust me, they're doing beta testing and all these things to make sure that they're going to work, but it still
Yeah.
requires your cooperation. How do we
Yeah.
do that with technology, with e-commerce? I mean, these spots are people feeling the shed industry to be an alternative to something like Facebook Marketplace. Think about the
Mhm.
billions of dollars that Mark Zuckerberg's worth, and then you've got a guy out here that's actually trying to pour into the industry, and of course he's trying to make a buck. Aren't we
Yeah,
all?
absolutely.
But and Facebook does work because it's this big monster program, right? But
Mhm.
what's the alternative to a guy who's saying, hey, I'm trying to do something that's specific to the industry? How do you measure their heart and say, oh, it's not just about making money? I mean, it's about providing value inside the industry.
Mhm.
That's what programs like Cal does. That's what programs like
Yeah.
My Shed does, right? Like that's what you're trying to do and accomplish, is add value. And of course you make a buck on it, but you're trying to add value. That's what I get. I'm sorry for my rant
Yeah,
and
no,
my
I mean it's true.
soapbox.
Everybody has to make a profit, right? I mean, you have to be able to, feed your family, and also you have to buy new computers. So whatever your tool is for your industry, you're going to wear it out. Whether
Yeah.
it's saws or delivery vehicles, right? So you're going to have to, have a way to replace that at some point down the road. And so I'm just excited that we actually have the ability to make a profit, right? And we're making these investments in people's lives.
Yeah.
But technology, embracing technology is important because partners like Google or Facebook Marketplace or WordPress or whatever, those are just tools, and we can use them, right? We can use them to our advantage. I mean, they want us to play in their sandbox. Even Google Maps, right? What a great way to schedule
Mm-hmm.
deliveries. And then you could
Mm-hmm.
take that and you could throw on a whole shed component to that and enhance that. And so that's what I mean. But technology has changed so much, and now we can almost like do a puzzle and put this piece with that piece, and we can get a really nice synergistic effect. And for us, at Cal, we really want you as a shed manufacturer, shed dealer, whatever space you choose to serve in, to be able to do your job well. And the person
Mm-hmm.
in front of you, that person's the most important person at that moment, right? Helping them make a decision, making it as frictionless as possible was part of our goal. And then, if you want to do your own RTO, we can help you with that. If you want to, use an outside RTO person, we can help you with that. It's not our way or the highway, it's your business. Sure, we can't, be a custom dev shop because you're not going to spend the money we spent to build this, but we know the basic tools you need to run your business, and then we can tweak it on the edges. What reports do you need? What tax reports do you need? Who do you want the emails to go to? Things like that. And oftentimes, when we start to get multiple people using our system, it gets better because more users, more brains, more eyeballs, more ideas begin to shape that product. And all of a sudden, we get this really beautiful suite of tools
Mm-hmm.
because we've got different brains that work in our system. And sometimes we have to say no, or we say later, but for the most part today, Cal is a really good usable tool to help a shed industry produce and deliver their products. And if they already have idea room, we can produce a Cal product for them, and as soon as we get their keys from idea room, like in like a week, we can have them up and running with their configurator.
Nice.
And that's the goal. 1 week. What is the wait time right now, Shannon, in the industry to get a configurator and a complete solution? I don't know, how long is that? Like 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But if you've already made the
It's
investment, there goes the train. We're in the local yard here. If you make an
you're
investment, you
good.
already have an idea room or a shed pro. Chances are you can be up and running within a week with the Cal tools. I mean, that's one of our goals, right? Like, let's try this thing out right now.
Man, I love your energy. I love your passion for your product. It shines through, and it shines through in you personally.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
talked a little bit before the phone call, and probably the my most favorite thing about you wasn't even our conversation about sheds, and that was our conversation about our faith and just being having a servant's heart for people,
Mhm.
and wanting to do those things. I think that people buy from people that they trust, and as a shed seller, sometimes you have a small and limited amount of time to get in and earn their trust because it's very impulsive. But some sales cycles in certain businesses are very long. I mean, rent to own. I hope I don't get the hate mail for this, but I mean, rent to own is a good example of a long sales cycle. I mean, how many rent to own companies knock on your door now currently, as a shed manufacturer or wholesaler to try and warrant your business? Well, it's in my opinion, it's got to be at a point to where eventually there's change in the industry, right? There's growth. I mean, it's good change, it's just the trimming that we need, right? That, it's going to allow us to bud out and go farther and do more and have new ideas. And people are going to bring those to the industry, right? Like creative minds are going to make those things happen. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep going. Who is Tristan as an individual? Tell me, let's see, father of 9.
I'm on a call right now. Thanks, Abby. A friend of ours just dropped by with making a payment on a produce box.
Oh, you're good. You're good. You could have done it. Trust me. You should have just took the payment. We'd have rode with it.
Oh, it's okay. Our team's out there packing boxes for delivery tomorrow, and so she's looking for somebody besides me.
Sure.
In our business, we always want to add value. Like, personally for me, I want to add value, right? Like I get a hunch, and then I think about it, and then I jump. Like the shed space is like that for me. Like we got introduced to it serendipitously, through Entree Leadership and a really dear brother, and then he had a need, and of course, when there's a need, people who meet needs. And I had to learn a long time ago, Shannon. This is a great way to segue. There was this snowstorm in our area, and we don't get a lot of snow in Western Washington here along the ocean, but we got snow, and I had a 15-passenger van because you know what, I got a lot of people, and so it's snowing. This family had slid off the road and they were stuck, and so then I stopped to help, and then the car behind me got in an accident because it couldn't stop because and then the guy with the 4-wheel drive truck that lifts way up in the air and has chains, he stopped by, whipped around, yanked him out of the thing, and I kept going. At that moment, I learned something. I learned that sometimes I have to pray and keep going, and other times I have to stop and help. There, I wasn't adding any value because I didn't have the right equipment to help that person. It wasn't a life or death. It was just inconvenient for them. And so I should have just prayed for them and kept going. But then when it's going to rain and my neighbor has hay down, I grab my boys and we run over there and we say, can we help you get that off the ground? Because then I can add value, right? And in this space here, we found a spot where we can add value, where we can, serve other business owners. And for me, that's, besides walking my daughters down the aisle or getting help from my grandkids, helping another business owner, do their job better, more efficiently, and then also be turned loose on their community with that free time they just got. That is so rewarding to me. That is, a pat on the back all day long, right? But also I want to price our product in a way that actually you can use it, where you're not afraid to use it, because it feels like you're, helping me as opposed to, joining me, right? Like it's a fine line, right? And so as a business owner, tools have to make sense. And they have to add value, because if they don't, then you get bitter about them. And really, we don't want to be bitter. We want to be, we want to happily embrace our partnerships. And like, I have 1 or 2 suppliers, and I trust them because I check their work every now and then, every couple of years. But they're always fairly priced. And then I only have 1 or 2 relationships to maintain, because I know they're looking out for me, and then they know I'm looking out for them. And in our relationships, we want our clients to know that we are looking out for them. And when technology changes, we're going to bring it to them. If they have a new idea, let's embrace it. And so that's why I'm excited about this industry in particular. And we're mostly focusing in the shed and carport industries now. Why do we call them carports anyway? Can you help me out? I'm new to the industry. As far as I can tell, that ship has sailed a long time ago.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a terminology there that could probably be updated and refreshed. One of the things I've talked about doing in trying to grow the Shed Geek brand or podcast is maybe, even diving into a little bit more of that side of the industry, whether it be, well, I mean, you go to a shed lot, you almost always see, carports or some type of steel building on there. The industries very much complement each other. And it may just be a way to add value to new listeners, or to current listeners that say, hey, that part of the industry is not necessarily represented on your show, but maybe you can dive into that. So good question, because that's one of the first things I'd want to do is get some carport guys on and have that conversation.
Well, a lot
I
of
know
your
it's Shed
clients
Geek.
have both, right? I mean, a lot of your clients sell both portables and carports, or I should call them steel buildings now, metal buildings.
Right.
What is it? Horse arenas. Like, what do you want to call those things?
Yeah.
Garages bolted to the ground. What is
No, you're all of the above.
And the nice thing about Cal is because Cal is an e-commerce solution. We sell apples and bananas and broccoli and hamburger. We sell juices, meal kits. But we also can sell gazebos and ramps and lawn furniture, in our system as well. And then we can also sell carports and sheds. Not many systems do both those, right? And so now you have one system that moves all of your items through it. Because really, we're going to have to diversify our product mix too. In many ways, we should be selling the furniture that goes along with it or the fire pit that goes along with it, because the customer wants to buy it and it's not that much more. And then you don't have to make it. You actually just got to buy it and resell it. You can just dust it off until next, spring when it gets warm again, and so like Cal can really help a business owner diversify their holdings and do more than just one thing. I mean, for sure, I want to encourage them to do whatever their passion is. But if they sell more than one thing, Cal's a great solution. And as far as I can tell, there aren't many solutions out there that actually cover the breadth of carports and sheds and lawn furniture. Even if you sold trailers, right? I mean, if you sold flatbed trailers, it's just a flat shed on wheels. Just put it in the product. I sell an 8x24 trailer. Okay.
If somebody doesn't use the slogan, we sell flat sheds on wheels, then they're missing out. I'm just saying. That's great. That's great marketing right there. Man, I love your heart for the Lord. I love your heart for people and servant's heart. And wish we could have met earlier, but it wasn't a day earlier than God intended for us to meet. So
amen.
Wish you just so much success in this industry as you continue to move forward. If people want to find out more about you or how to reach you, how would they do that?
Right. So you can go to our website, which is calcanhelp.com. Cal is just the name of our product. It's, Cal's like a great friend, like somebody you can count on to show up when you need some help, just so calcanhelp.com is our website. You can also call me at 425-359-3279. And I'm out here on the West Coast. And so really it feels like I start work at 5 a.m. now and I finish at, 9. Like when you're on the West Coast doing business in the East, it is just a different beast. But as a farmer, I've always gotten up early, right? I had somebody call me today. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, you called me kind of early. It was 9 o'clock. I'm like, well, yeah, that's okay. I'm awake. If I was sleeping, I wouldn't have answered, right?
Yeah, that's right. Very good, man. I've enjoyed getting to know you. I'm sorry we missed each other in Virginia, but I'm glad that we were able to connect again, and want to continue to have friends and just that friendship in this industry that you can call on. And I mean, at a minimum, those guys are prayer warriors. Those men and women are prayer warriors in your life. Absolutely. I mean, me and you shared kind of a testimony where one of your business acquaintances, went through cancer. My wife, suffered through cancer and has been established through that, and God has brought her through that. She's doing well now. But those are people that are crossing your path in your journey. And some people would think it's just about a shed when it's so much more than a shed, right?
It's way more.
Funny how God uses that.
I was gonna share, about that Shed Expo. When people gather, we get all together in an expo like that. This year, the conversations were a lot deeper. Like, people are looking for a complete solution. I don't know if you've noticed that in your conversations with people, but the configurator was really important before, but now we're seeing that they need the rest of the solution. And so I know the marketplace is thinking about how to be more efficient, how to have a more integrated solution. And so I think we're going to see more products come on the marketplace. We see the marketplace change and adapt. It's going to be for the better, right? It's going to produce better tools for the industry to make us more competitive. And if anything, the labor crunch that we're experiencing, this will help with that a little bit even too, right? Because when you need less people and you can do more with technology, that just helps you.
Yeah.
Because the people we got working for us, they're beautiful people, and we can't afford to lose any of them. Like, oh my goodness, like it already feels like we're already so tight staffed, and so having a tool that lets them do more, it creates a better quality of life, work experience, and then also as a business owner, you will find new talents for your team to embrace. And then I want to just, do we have a few more minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Like I want to share this story. We started farming like 1998, right? We're new to farming, and we finally got our farm, Forever Farm, which now is our Forever Work, right? I didn't realize that Forever Farm was Forever Work, but so we got this farm, and we're going to start doing grass-fed cattle, right? We're going to raise beef cows along with our produce, and I live in a valley with dairy cows everywhere around me, right? It produces milk like no other valley, and so anyway, I'm looking around, and all my neighbors have, for the most part, one hot wire around their farm. The cows, they go out and graze, and they come back in, and so I'm going to get into the cow business, not the dairy business, because that's a different world. But I'm going to graze cows in the summer. I buy in, the yearlings, and I butcher them in the fall, and so then I started doing my research, and I'm involved in Acres USA and other, environmental kind of farming organizations, intensive grass-fed, operations. And so I said, I'm going to put up two hot wires, Shannon. I'm going to put up two hot wires because my neighbors are doing one. I'm going to overdo it, put up two hot wires. And so my friend, he got in his trailer and he loaded up, a load of Herefords, and he brought them by and he let them out. And you know what two hot wires means to a bunch of beef cows? Absolutely nothing. They just walked right through that. And you know what? Nobody has fences in the valley anymore. We were chasing cows all day long. This means nothing to a cow. This is nothing. So we rounded those cows up. It took us like about 4 or 5 hours, got them in a neighbor's barn, a dairy farmer's barn, and he pinned them up there. And then we built 5-strand barbed wire the next week, all around the entire 40 acres. Because good fences keep your cows home, right? But I thought for sure I'd done my research. I got two hot wires. All my neighbors just have one, but I didn't factor in the fact that those were pets that went out and came back every day. These beef cows, they came in and they left. Like, where am I? And who is this? And who are you? And so it was a ton of fun. I met all my neighbors. But that's the way it is in business sometimes, right? You think you do your research.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you roll it out and then they're gone. Like, what happened? This did not work like it's supposed to work. And for us, we vetted our product in many ways. Like, we got it out there and it was like, it felt like the cows got away. It wasn't very good to begin with. It was close, but today, it's like, it's a fence. And the cows are going to get out because somebody left the gate open. That is the only reason now, right? And so for us, in our journey as farmers, we always try new things. We dabble here and there. And then when we figure out what we need, we really get after it, right? And the shed industry is like that. They're dabbling, and now they know what they want. They want complete solutions. And we're here to serve them with that solution.
Man, I love your analogy, and the bumper stickers that could be taken away from this show is really just mind-boggling. Good fences keep cows home. I've always heard good fences make good neighbors, but you know what? I think it's time to.
Yes.
I think it's time to replace that slogan. Man, I love your energy. It's infectious. I love your heart like I said, for your ministry and the way people play a role into that ministry. And this is what's really cool and beautiful about the shed industry, right? Is, that it does have that overtone of like gosh, taking care of your fellow man as well. There's an element to that that's just necessary. And we all from time to time get I'll just go ahead and say butt hurt, from time to time if things don't work out perfectly the way we think they should. But to go along with your cow analogy, our Father owns a cattle on 1,000 hills, so you take care of the birds of the air, he'll take care of us. He's going to make sure. And you know what, if that even means moving you out of the shed industry, if that's the calling, I'll tell you what, the best thing you can do is chase it with both feet on the ground as fast as you can, because obedience is greater than sacrifice, and knowing what he would have you do is way more important. I want to give a few shout outs here. I wanted to ask you real quick, just a fun fact about Tristan. I just wanted to just randomly throw that out. Give us a fun fact that most people wouldn't find out other than me asking you on this podcast.
Well, I have the 9 children, so that's a fun fact there. I used to farm with Belgian draft horses. I had a couple of girls, 2,000 pounds each, and
Wow.
about 5 or 6 years. I really enjoyed that, but my lifestyle didn't quite line up with farming with horses, and so now I have a couple John Deeres that are still parked where I left them. But in that back to land movement back in the 90s, much like in the 70s, we had so many children, we had to put them to work to keep them busy, and then also to feed them, right? Like that's a growing tribe. But what I noticed about a large family was that, when those first 5 came through the system, like when they were like 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, that world, we got so much work done. But then they all left. Like 5 years later, they were all through the system. I'm like, oh my goodness, where did my workforce go? And we paid our kids for every hour they worked on the farm. They all funded their IRAs and did that. But
That's awesome.
But it's just so funny, when I think about farming with horses, and if you want, we can do another podcast about harrowing experiences and horses with a mind of their own. And
I'm going to have to start
horse farming, so
I must have to start a horse geek podcast, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Real quick, there's a lot of people listening in on this number each week, but for those who want to share it with their friends, especially in the Plain community, the podcast number for the Plain communities to call in and reach and listen to the Shed Geek podcast is 330-997-3055. So if you have some friends, we're trying to build some different things out here, including maybe doing some AI, maybe I'm using the wrong term. Otter AI is who I'm using to hopefully do some transcript stuff for the podcast, so that you can go back and find a transcript and you don't have to go back and buffer through this whole episode to find out one spot that you wanted to find out what was said. So we are working on some stuff. Highly encourage you guys in the shed industry, if you would, you get value, you see value out of this, both share anything that you see, but also from maybe the Facebook pages or social media pages. But I'm really trying to build up this YouTube channel, so if you can go on and subscribe to Shed Geek, would really appreciate that. Nothing's mandatory, so my hope is to add enough value to make you want to do it, right? So can't make you do anything, but hope to add value to your day, both through education and entertainment, with folks like Tristan here who love to laugh, love the Lord, and love the shed business. So Tristan, I know you're a man of faith, man. So if it's okay, I'm going to ask you to close us out in prayer here, and then I'll stop recording, but we can chat afterwards.
Fair enough. Thank you. Father, I want to thank you for this time, a chance to dream a little bit and to find our spot and to really help people really do more with good tools, Father. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. The people I've met, the people that are serving in this industry, it is just filled with good people, Lord. And that has been such a blessing to serve alongside them. So thank you for this podcast. Thank you for the information that's being disseminated and helping people make good choices. That's one of the things that Shannon really provides. And we're grateful for his perseverance and his tenacity, and also his style of disseminating this information to us, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I love a good old prayer that throws the word disseminated in twice. You're my hero. Good times, man. Good times.
All right.